Hello, loves. Welcome to Tea Time with Monica. Today's guest is educator, international fashion and event producer, and brand consultant, Aubrey Boyd. Now, this is my friend, and y'all about to hear why. Aubrey is the Senior Vice President of Operations and Planning of John Mark Collection. Now, together with designer Zach of John Mark, they created National Curves Day, which is a 501c3 that celebrates biodiversity and held on the second Wednesday of October. Now, I said this is my friend because this is kind of how we've met, because I've had the esteemed pleasure of hosting events for National Curves Day 3 years, right?
Yes.
So we have
No,
had
four.
4 years. So we've had a long journey together, getting to know each other through each other's work, but also presenting something that you and Zach have created to just help people express themselves in a better way, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
let me finish giving y'all, all the stuff, because that isn't the only thing Aubrey does. So with Aubrey's success and work with brands such as Ashley Stewart, Bandolets, MVP Collections, District of Curse, which I'm affiliated with, and Queen Size Magazine, to name a few, this has led to the birth of BLVK Consulting Group, a boutique firm that supports brands and fashion and event management and brand consultant. Welcome, Aubrey.
Thank you, Monica, for that great introduction. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. So since we're going to be discussing your work, and it is Pride Month, and I know you were
Yes.
just on the cover of Queen Size Magazine for Pride Month, I thought this quote kind of would sum up a good way to open up today's conversation.
Okay.
Being yourself is never the wrong thing to do. How does this quote speak to you?
Well, the quote speaks to me because for a long time, I feel like I wasn't my authentic self. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
people see me on the runway. They see me at networking events. I'm at plus size events, being the overall bubbly Aubrey. But I feel like over the past year with this pandemic, I really found out who I wanted to be and what I wanted to represent. When I pitched the idea to Tawanda, who's the editor-in-chief of Queen Size Magazine, that I was like, I want to really just go out my shell, really just show the world who I am, and got an amazing team together to kind of make this come to life, which came into the cover of their Pride issue. So, and I feel like now I'm living in my truth, I'm living who I am, and I'm the best that I've ever been.
Wow. Now, I think a lot of people, despite all of the, uncertainty of the pandemic hitting, with us not knowing a lot, but I
Right.
think it gave people some perspective about life. Like, we looked at life a little bit differently and how we wanted to live, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's very, I hear this over and over again as I've been interviewing people, that they've had that same like revelation of like, I learned about me more because I
Yeah,
took
because
time.
that's all we had. We were locked up in our homes for months trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out, and like people like you and I, we're bubbly. We like to be at events. We like to meet
Yeah.
people. So it was very challenging. Like the first couple of weeks, I'm like, okay. The first week, I'm like, okay. The second week, I'm like, okay. I think I'm going through a slight depression because I'm not able to be out in the
Child.
streets and meeting people and being at networking events and chatting it up. Oh, what y'all got going on, and events being canceled. I'm like, this is a real thing that is shutting the
Yeah.
world down.
Right. And we had no other choice. And I had that same thing too. I've been expressing on the show and just to people on social media, like, I went through therapy. I started therapy like the end of March last year, and it has helped.
Absolutely. I am a pioneer when it comes to, like, I feel like our community, our race, the Black community, we don't think therapy is really big. I've been going to therapy for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been so helpful. And I think that was like a point where I wasn't so kind of like, oh my God, I can't go to events, I can't go outside. I've
Right.
been going through therapy, so that was kind of helping get through this tough time of just being at home with my dog.
Right. And I mean, you never think about like what else is your therapy. And I feel like you've been expressing yourself through fashion, but not showing, like, we kind of hide behind our veils. Like with me,
Yes.
I'm on the red carpet, doing events or hosting events, and people see that side of me, but they don't also see the deeper part of me. And I feel like, I think we kind of both were doing
Yeah,
that. So
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so let's talk about how, you started with this passion of fashion and how it started to bring out and blossom you.
Okay, so back in high school, which was like 15 years ago now, as to
Mm-hmm.
date, honestly, I did a fashion show in high school. I loved it. And I was like, I think this should be a career. And I'm like, okay, I want to have a career in fashion. At the time, my family didn't believe fashion was a career.
Mm,
When you think of like the baby boomer generation, it's like
right.
graduate, go to college, get a good government job, that type of stuff.
Hey.
And like, at that time, 15 years ago, content creation, bloggers, influencers, that really didn't even exist. Like social media just really start booming. I want to say Facebook, you had to be invited at
Right.
the time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to school, get a degree in business, and try to work this fashion thing in. And that's what I did. I joined the modeling troupe at my school. I was
Mm-hmm.
planning the homecoming fashion show every year. I was the fashion editor of the magazine that I helped create at my school, which led me to New York Fashion Week.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it kind of started. And I was like, I dress like how I'm dressing right now to class every day. I was like, I want to express, who I am through what I have on. And at the time, H&M, Zara was not in the state of Florida. So I used to love going home on holidays, going to the mall, going shopping,
Mm-hmm.
come back with my fashions. And it was like, you must be from up north. Yes, I am from up north.
I know that's right. And I think, we start to find ourselves through fashion, especially like in high school when you're trying to come into your
Yep.
own. People go through phases of fashion.
Hmm.
So it's great that you kind of have that way of like, this is the start of me being me, but it is a journey, right?
Absolutely.
So how has that journey changed for you over the years through the fashion sense and actually coming into your own?
So I guess for me, like fashion, I was very scared at times because I'm like, okay, what are people going to say? What are people going to think?
Right.
Is this too feminine? Is this overly masculine? Like trying to balance those two and make it, who I am. And I think through the years, I changed my fashion. I switched things up. I looked at blogs. My head was always in the cover of Vogue, GQ, seeing what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing on the runway, looking at fashion shows overseas, and like, okay, how can I utilize what they put on the model or what they put on the mannequin and make it my own and make it something that I
Right.
can say, this is, my true identity. I think when you come to style, like fashion, anybody can do fashion. Style
Mm-hmm.
is something that you can just go in your closet and literally whip up something really quickly, like I
Right.
did today. Honestly, I was like, oh my God, I have a call at 10 o'clock, at the
Yeah.
time, with you. And I'm like, let me just go in my closet real quick, pull something out and make it fashionable because I want to look cute.
Yes, you want to be you. So was it hard, like we're gonna go switch around a little bit with your
Okay.
work and pride, because this is Pride Month and I
Yes.
know, honey, you are showing that pride. So was it hard for you coming out to your family, or was it like we always knew?
So they always knew. That's what they said. And I, believe it or not, I probably kind of came out to them, I want to say maybe 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be
Six
30.
years, really?
Yes. I'll be 32 in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
So I came out to them maybe like 6 years ago, and I really didn't come out. I was like talking to the guy I was talking to at the time, which is now my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, I'm so sorry, I did not know.
I talked about that in Queen Size Magazine.
I know I didn't get to read the full article, but
Yes.
oh,
So
okay,
yes,
hold on. I'll get the tea on that in a sec, but go ahead.
yes. So I just brought him around and I was like, and it was so crazy because I was talking to him for quite some time, maybe like 6 months. And I
Mm-hmm.
brought him to the John Mark studio because we were, in that area and it was the holiday time. And I was like, oh, I told my sister, I'm having someone, a friend come with me.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, she's very, secret. Shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Secret Zach. She's very inquisitive and she asks a lot of questions. She was like, oh, okay. So at the studio, my ex-husband went downstairs to kind of help with taking some stuff down. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, oh, that's my boyfriend. I was like, are you kidding me? He didn't even allow me to kind of have the opportunity to say, hey sis, this is the guy I'm talking to. This is Bobby, blah, blah, blah. He didn't even
Right.
allow me to do that. So at that point, I was like, okay, I know what this is. I need to be able to tell my truth or tell, what this is, what I'm doing, who
Mm.
I am before someone else is able to tell it.
Wow. Yeah, because that kind of like strips you away from your
Yeah,
moment. Like, I
yes, I
have
was
arrived and I'm comfortable here.
And I was like, wait. So after that, I just was like telling people when we introduced, I was like, hey, this is my fiance, or hey, this is my husband, or hey, like I wanted that to be known before anything else like took place moving forward. Cause I was like, and I talked to him about it, I was like, how dare you do that? Like, that's my moment. That's like my time. That's like, don't do that.
Yeah. Now, did this divorce happen over the pandemic or it was just,
So the divorce happened right before the pandemic.
mm,
It happened in February of last
mm-hmm,
year. And I just feel like we wasn't equally yoked. I feel like it was a fantasy love story of two different individuals coming together that really didn't know each
mm-hmm,
other really. And I feel like we were on two different pay wavelengths. And I just wanted so much more. I feel like as I became who I was and
mm-hmm.
becoming, you know, the Aubrey that people see now, the Aubrey that people see on the cover, I feel like that was something he couldn't take.
Yeah. Well, I hate that you've gone through that, but I understand, a lot of people unfortunately have gone through divorce prior to or during the pandemic because like we've said before, people were finding themselves and
Right.
understanding they wanted something different in life than what they thought
Absolutely.
they did. And I mean, I commend you for being transparent about all of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm and like at this juncture now, I'm so much in a better space. I feel like the pandemic really got me to say, okay, I'm going through a divorce. I'm trying to figure out what's my next step.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can't go outside, so I can't cope with like going to events and hiding behind, fashion and,
Mm-hmm.
shows and things of that sort. So I really had to, find who I was again and really reintroduce myself to the world.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about these shows you've done and the work you've done. We can get back to pride, but let's also understand who Aubrey is. So, creating National Curves Day. How did that really come about with you and Zach?
So it's so interesting. So she was posting on John Mark's Instagram on Wednesday, calling Wednesday deeming it hump day for like
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years prior to our first, event or even
Mm-hmm.
National Curves Day. And she missed a Wednesday and women was in her inbox like, oh, I needed those positive messages because she
Mm-hmm.
was posting positive messages for herself or just images to encourage herself, like, okay, the struggle is real trying to find clothes. And she would go into
Right.
the men's section and get, go up a size in the men's section, but it still would be too big. And then she's a designer, so she would kind of like tailor it to herself. And she was like,
Right.
she know like other women have these same struggles and issues. So I went out of town, and when I came back, she said National Curves Day will be October 15th, 2015. And I said, she said her birthday is on a Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday is hump day. So I'm like, okay. I said, so what we gonna do? And like for me, I'm big on like you give me an idea, I'm gonna run it right off the page. So I
Right.
said, what are we doing? She was like, okay, it's gonna be a big party. So I said, okay. So I reached out to the governor of Maryland and got a proclamation. I said, we're gonna get a proclamation, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big.
Right.
So that's when we started posting. You reached out to us, you was our first host. We had a party, we had a fashion segment,
Yes,
we had a
honey.
panel, and it just went from there. And I was like, okay, each year I feel like we continue to elevate the brand. In
Mm-hmm.
2018 is when we went co-ed, we changed the logo. We feel like that men needed a seat at the table as well.
Yeah.
And they have some of the same issues and struggles when it comes to finding clothes. And then most recently talking to one of my clients, like,
Mm-hmm.
men is the big and tall industry is so far behind. Kirkland from Excel Tribe was like, when it compared to the women counterpart, men is still in elementary school while women is in high school. And I said, you know what? That's a great analogy. I was like, oh my God, I never thought of that. And I
Right.
said, and it's still a fight for both women and men in the plus community when it comes to, being diversity, inclusion, and equity across the board. And that's one of the things that, me and Zach took in 2020 to really decide, like, where do we want National Curves Day to go? We know we
Right.
can do an amazing event. We know people will come to the event. It will be sold out. It will be fun. But it's like, how can we begin now knocking on the doors, really being a real, force when it comes to like making sure it's equal opportunity across the board. Why can't men and women of the plus community walk in any mall in any city and just be able to pick up a gown or a suit that will fit them?
Yeah. You're right, because we've been in the industry together for years, and we know how it's coming up, and men are still catching
Yep.
up to the women,
Mm-hmm.
because it's always been about a woman's
Yep.
body. It's always been, oh, women are so victimized about their bodies, but we don't always think about men. And that makes me think of, like, when we think about what we've been doing in our community, and then what's considered like mainstream, people like Rihanna with the Savage Fenty brand, just bringing the men's collection.
Baby. That
Hunting.
collection I was like, Regana, she is a person that really, gets it. She knows what
Mm-hmm.
diversity and inclusion looks like when it come all race, size, shape. And I think that's where we need to be. It shouldn't be like, I remember one year in Paris, we got off the runway and a guy was like, oh, you did that for a big girl to one of the models. And me, I turned around and was like, excuse me? Like, what do that mean? Why can't she do it as like she's a model? Why
Right.
she have to do it because she's a big girl? She's a model. Granted, she's a plus model, but say she did it as a plus model, a big girl. I don't understand what that means. And I was like, that's not really a compliment.
Right. And I think that's where people get it mixed up. That, like, yes, we have to say plus size for, in some respects when we say it, but to hear it from somebody like, oh, I didn't think you could do that. Like, and it comes off like that, it's like, hold on, wait. I
Yes. Oh
might
my
be
God.
plus size, but that don't make me any less than this person over here and over there. And the fact that Rihanna is very inclusive with, like we said, size, ethnicity, diversity, and diversity with your sexuality. Like, she wants everybody. You could see that in her shows, in
Mm-hmm.
the marketing, everything is out there. She does not care. It's like, look, my brand is gender fluid. However
Yep.
you feel, that's what you buy. Like, because I mean, the men's line came out and I still want the red boy shorts and a cute red bra or something, you know what I'm saying? Because I can walk
Yes.
around like that. Like, I just feel like it's gender fluid, and that's where fashion and media are going now.
Yep. And that's like, oh my God. Like, even with Christian Siriano, I feel like he is the exact epitome of gender fluid, and he really brings it to the mainstream when it comes to New York Fashion Week. And that's where fashion is going. Fashion for all.
Yeah.
Like, be for all, not just for one particular market, because at the end of the day, we all put on clothes each and every day. We all want to look good each and every day. So why just ostracize one particular market, or say, oh, I don't design for this person, or I
Mm-hmm.
don't design for that person, or I don't want this person to wear my clothes? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, I feel like in media, even with some of the shows that are out and how we're seeing people express fashion, shows like I love me some Legendary, honey.
Yes.
Honey, Legendary Pose is my show. So how do you feel about the fashion that's shown and the expression that's shown through these shows that are bringing, pride and the LGBTQ community more so in the forefront now?
So again, like you said, those two shows are really my shows. I feel like they also help with just me telling my story because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I can relate to some of the characters. I can relate to not being able to be my authentic self. I feel like when it comes to back to your question, fashion, I feel like it shows people that they're human.
Yeah.
They're human. Like, so just leave them alone. Let them be who they are. Let them be their authentic self. Like we're in 2021. What doesn't matter who they sleep with? What doesn't matter what their sexuality is? They're like, and people don't understand. Back in the day, majority of the music artists, the choreographers, the dancers, they were in the LGBT community.
Yeah.
All this stuff, these great movies they see, these great music videos they have seen, the people who helped produce that or style that were in the LGBT community. You like us then, or for that great work, but when we on center stage, it's like, I don't know, and it's like you can't have a double standard.
Right. You want all this flavor and all this
Yeah,
pop
you
we
want this
got.
fashion, this cuteness, this that. Like, no, we're not about to do that. And I love that designers is like styling and designing these people on Pose and Legendary to look, they're snatched and fashionable to the gods. Like I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I get my life every time I watch it, and I'm so sad that we're saying goodbye to Pose. I'm
Oh my gosh.
so
Like,
so sad.
Pose. Okay, so I gotta have a moment. Like, how did you feel in that scene with Billy Porter when he and the guy that was playing his boyfriend, they had that sexual scene and you saw two brown black gay men
Yes,
having that steamy sexual scene, like, oh.
it was something that was never done on television, and I feel
Mm-hmm,
like when it comes to black and brown, people in the LGBT community, we don't have that spotlight. And I feel
mm-hmm,
like they gave us that moment that was just like everything, and
mm-hmm,
something that people can look and say, okay, I'm okay with my sexuality. I don't have to hide who I am. I feel like that gave a voice and gave like visuals to,
mm-hmm.
okay, this is who I am, and be okay with that.
Right, right. And I just feel like also it made people probably feel like I don't have to be afraid of my first time in that
Yeah,
sexual experience. Because how was that
absolutely.
for you? If there's not too much to ask, like, were you afraid your first time having that sexual experience?
Yes and no. I didn't know, like, because my first time, you like, I don't know what to do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little confused. You kind of figure out what you like and you don't like, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like so you kind of go in it with like a clear skate, like piece of paper,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of figure out like what you like. Okay, I don't like that. I don't like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say that I was a little bit afraid. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. I think for anybody in the first time of anything, like you're showing your body, you're
Yes.
giving your full self to someone, and then also and not being considered quote unquote the norm,
Right. Right.
which it should just be normal because love is love. But you're like, oh, this isn't like what I've been shown, what I've talked about with so many people, and then
Right. Right.
oh, you know, it's kind of scary.
It is. It definitely is. But I just went in it with just like an open mind, open heart, and just that's
Mm-hmm.
how it happened.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, that scene to me was very like, yeah, we're gonna push the envelope and show you what it's really
Yeah,
about.
they didn't push the envelope. They run the envelope right off the page with that one. I was like, this is on TV, on television,
Right. And this ain't no like HBO, this ain't no cable. This
right? Yes.
FX.
I was like, oh, this is what we do.
Yes. But I loved it. I really did. I was like, go. But I feel like in just about every episode, they hit a mark to push it. Just like I think recently when Billy Porter did the episode where he went to his back to his family. And like, and
Yes,
it I kind of reminds me like when you said I didn't have the moment, but then he showed he had the moment and that it kicked him out of the church and something that
right.
he was still like, like that was my upbringing and I can't even have that part of me anymore.
Right. And
You
I
know?
feel like that's a lot of people in, my community that, you know, their upbringing, who, you know, they were then, that people don't accept them. So we had to create our own community. So that's why ballroom even exists, because people got kicked out. Like if you look at the first episode of Pose, when he got kicked out of his house because of his sexuality,
Right.
that's how it actually started. People, you know, joining ballroom, having a ballroom mom or dad, or as they call it, mother or father,
Mm-hmm.
to help them navigate to be successful, but also express who you truly are in the balls.
Now I got a question because y'all, if y'all haven't seen Aubrey on stage, right? He does this twirl with this jacket that I'd like live for. Honey, I die. So have you ever been in the ballroom scene? Like when I just see you do all of those things, it makes me think about like, now has he ever done anything in the ballroom season? We duck walking and bogan.
So I haven't done anything in the ballroom scene. The
Mm-hmm.
jacket spin actually was originated from my modeling troupe Epicurean.
Okay.
We have a chapter in FAMU and BCU,
Mm-hmm.
Bethune-Cookman University. So I learned it just watching one of the girls do the jacket spin at our sister chapter at Florida A&M University. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can do that. And I was like, so I'm practicing. So when I first did, I was like, oh, I can do this jacket spin, take it
Mm-hmm.
off, twirl it around, and put it back on. Laomi did something similar because you sent me a DM a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago of Laomi twirling a jacket.
Yes.
And she's like the queen of Vogue.
I live for Laomi.
Yes, and she be like this on Legend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes. So no, I haven't. My ex-husband was. I did go
Mm-hmm.
to my first official ball with him. And
Mm-hmm.
I watched, you know, ballroom on, you know, YouTube before Pose and Legendary even came to be in existence. And I was like, oh my God, I wanna, you know, because that's one of my bucket lists, to walk a ball.
Really? Yeah,
But
you gotta walk a ball, yo.
I'm so scared because I just feel like what I've seen, what people see on Legendary, what people see on Pose is nowhere compared to what them judges be given at an actual ball.
Oh
They
my God.
think that, you know, Law, Laomi, you know, Jamila, and
Megan.
Megan, they're hard. Like they are so cut. It'd be a chop before people walk. They be like, it's a chop. I'd be like, I'm scared I'm gonna get chopped. And I don't know if I'm gonna do it at some point, but I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I need to build up my self-esteem, because what if I get chopped? Because people who haven't walked the ball, they call it virgins.
Mm-hmm.
So you a virgin in this particular category. And I'm like, what would I walk? Would I walk runway? Would I walk fashion? Um, so I don't know. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I just
I
don't know
could
when
see you walking runway though, and then doing your twirl and doing some bow. Like I think
yes.
that would spice it up.
And I
I'm
was
coming to
like,
this
that
ball.
jacket. I feel like that jacket spin would be like my signature to win the
Right.
category. So I don't know. I'm gonna think about it.
Yeah. Well, think about it because I feel like you said in the beginning, you're coming into your own. And if you're
True.
saying that's a bucket list, now that we just dealt with this pandemic, we're starting to come out of it with people getting vaccines and businesses and everybody learning what to do to keep people safe and wearing the mask. So I'm just thinking like you gotta put your bucket list. How old you said you're 32? Look, I'm old. I'm about to turn 40.
But you look good though.
Thank you. You know, black don't crack.
Hello.
So you got some time before you're 35. I think put it on your bucket list for like, okay, I'll be 35. So what am I gonna do before my 35th birthday?
Okay. I'll definitely create that. And I
Yeah.
know a few people in ballroom that are like overall fathers and things of that sort. And I was like, and I
I
don't
think you
know
should
if it
start like, oh my, wouldn't it be awesome if like you're starting creating the fashion and maybe working with some of these ballrooms so you can make sure your fashion is where you want it to be for where you go. And then you're
yep.
starting to practice them. Look, I'm over here giving advice since I want to see this
Yellow.
and I
And
love
like I
ballroom.
like when I tell you I love it, and I was just like, and my best friend, oh my God, he's probably gonna kill me, but he would be like, you know how they do the dip and they like
Mm-hmm.
fall on the floor, the death drop, that's what it's officially called. He
Mm-hmm.
would like smash your back on the ground. I'm like, and I laugh every time he says that. I was like, how did you get the term of smashing her back on the ground? And when you think of it, that's what they're doing. But I was like,
Honey,
Bestie,
look
it's
like
a
it
death
hurt.
drop. And I've said, and I asked somebody, that's because they're landing on their leg. So they're bending their leg and landing. And I was like, I could learn this. So I may take a Vogue class. I
I
may take
think
it.
you should. I think you should take your classes and get that done because if you're already creating your own brand, that's a part of you stepping into your own
Yep.
with your fashion. Now let's step into your own even more so with you, because I think that's going to, when you marry the two, it'll really blossom, right?
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Right. You
Unstoppable.
feel like I'm fierce. Fuck this shit,
Hello?
right?
Yes. Unstoppable. Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
gonna take a Vogue class because I want to be able to learn a few things so I can give you a few different things on the runway.
See, that's what I'm talking about. And then let's talk about creating this brand, because like you said, you've worked with brands, you've been, part of different shows and everything. What really said, okay, I need my own thing?
So for years, people have called on me for different things. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, oh, it's just Aubrey. Oh, and people were using the Plus Architect, which is, my Instagram. And I'm like, I need something that speaks to all industries that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me just think about it. And it came over the pandemic, probably a year ago. And I was like, I want something that speaks to who I am. And that's where the Black Consulting Group was born. And I've been working with a few clients. And I was like, this year, at the end of the month, we'll launch my website live.
Right.
The Black Consulting Group, what I've been working on for the past year, and the clients I've, came on board. And I think that I wanted to, identify something that has an umbrella for all of the things that I do.
Mm.
And that's how I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do, I was like, call it this, call it that. And I was like, Black Consulting Group. That's what I do. I consult with a lot of people. I help a lot of brands with projects. I produce a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
I help with sponsorship decks. And I was like, I need something to kind of speak to all of that. And that's when I kind of put the Plus Architect underneath the Black Consulting Group, because the Plus Architect is someone directly in the plus and curvy and big and tall community.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be different from that with the Black Consulting Group, because I have a client that is a big LGBTQ organization here in the area that reached out to me to come on board
Mm-hmm.
as a sponsorship coordinator. And I was
Right.
like, I can't say the Plus Architect. So I was like, I need to come up with something that speaks to an array of organizations and an array of
Right.
my craft other than just fashion.
Right. But I think that a lot of us start out in the plus size fashion community, but we see that we can do more. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
look at what I'm doing. Like, tea time is not all about, even though I bring my friends on and people that I've met through the plus industry, and I honor that. Not every episode has been about that, because I saw that, like, yes, plus size industry, being, the host for National Curves Day, working with District Curves, working with Curves Rock, working with TCF, Style Expo, and Full Figure Fashion Week, like working with all of those different, events, I found my voice.
Yeah.
But it's how I use my voice. And you found your creativity and who you are through this, but you can give it to so many more people. Like you can just spread yourself more.
Yep. And that's where, and I eventually want to have other people come on board. I was like, I want to start something that I can hire people to clone myself.
I know, look, yes.
I
But
want to clone myself.
then even though you want to clone yourself, there's only one offer.
There's only one, but I want to teach and train someone that can do work as good as I can produce.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm like, it's so many people that come to me for so many different projects, and sometimes I have to decline them. I
Mm-hmm.
used to be where I would take on all these projects and be so stressed out and trying to manage them and wasn't taking care of me.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about this, just because I know even after some of the events we've been on that you've had some health scares.
Yes. So,
And let's talk about that, because you said you've been in therapy, and let's talk about how you've managed your stress and understand of what you need to do for you so that you can be the best you can be.
Right. So, a few years ago, after NCD, I think it was a week long event, and I
Mm-hmm.
really like pushed and pumped, and I collapsed, and like right after our final event, later that evening, I collapsed, and I didn't know what it was. I couldn't remember, and it was WPW, which is Wolfman Walker Wolfman Packer syndrome. I can't remember what it was called, but it was electrolyte on my heart.
Mm.
And I've had this happen before. My heart beat really, really fast. And then after like 30 seconds, it would go away. This time it was beating really fast and I couldn't like shake it. And I just remember like collapsing. And they
Mm.
had to actually inject something to stop my heart
Wow.
and reboot it again.
Mm.
So when I get to the hospital, because this was the paramedics, when I get to the hospital, it did it again. They was like, you may have to have surgery. Then I get a phone call from one of my aunts, and she was like, "Oh, well, men in our family, around their 30th birthday, they have some type of heart issue or problem."
Wow.
I was like, "Excuse me?" I said, well, Mom, I'm just finding out this information right now. So it really made me do like research on just like,
Mm-hmm.
the history of that. Cause I'm like, is this something that could have been prevented? I was up in the
Right.
air if I wanted to go under the knife. Cause I was like, this is the first time me ever having surgery. So I'm like, am I going to wake up? Like, I don't know what are
What are the
the
risks?
risk and so I'm in the hospital reading this stuff, and I think this was probably day 2 at this point that I was in the hospital, and around 3 a.m it happened again and woke me out my sleep,
Mm.
where the doctor had to come in, do it again. He had to actually shoot 2 injections
Oh
in
my
my IV
gosh.
to stop my heart and to reboot it. And he was like, and at that time, he was like, have you decided to go through with the surgery? And I was like, yes, because me waking up, like my heart was, they called it as if I was running a marathon. My heart was beating so fast, like
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like I was running a marathon.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, I'm ready for the surgery. So the next day they transported me to I want to say it was George Washington Hospital to
Mm-hmm.
conduct the surgery. My mother came to see me, my sister came up there to see me. So my family was very supportive or whatever, but I it was something that was so like weird because I'm like, I've had these things happen through the years, but I couldn't. I'm just thinking that I'm just overly excited or something like that. I never knew there
Mm-hmm.
was an extra electrolyte outside of my heart
Now,
that was
is
causing
this
this.
is this something that you discussed with your doctor? Because you think about one, you touched on many things that I want to like ask about. Like one, not understanding what goes on in your family, like Black families not talking about health issues, right?
Right.
And then to think about maybe you trying to express this to your doctor, have you had that openness with your doctor? Because Black men and then Black people, in the LGBTQ community kind of shun from seeing the doctor or taking care of their health because they don't want to deal with all the healthcare disparities or the judgment or anything like
Right.
that. So let's talk about how you feel about a little bit of both of that.
So one, I definitely kind of, talked to my doctor about it, but I really couldn't describe it. I was like,
Mm,
my heart beats really fast. I don't know if I'm overly excited. I couldn't because it went and it goes so fast. I wasn't able to like articulate exactly what was going on, or they couldn't really understand what was going on. I
mm-hmm,
think when it would actually happen and they was able to see it, they
mm-hmm,
was able to read it and they was able to call it immediately,
mm.
because those times that it happened back then, it was happening for longer than like 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Now, does
Pre-
stress bring this on though?
so I asked them that, and they was like, it could be stress, it can be anxiety, it can
Ooh.
be a lot of different things that could have triggered this. And I was like, well, how long have it happened? Because for me, it will come and go, and I can honestly say, prior to the health scare or the land me in the hospital, it probably would come maybe once a year. And
Mm,
it wouldn't be around National Curves Day. It would be random. It was one time I was driving and I had to pull over for a few seconds.
mm,
So I was like, I couldn't describe like if it was when I was excited, if it was I was stressed out. So I really couldn't like determine when it would trigger it. So, but after I got the procedure, because I did,
mm-hmm,
I it haven't happened since. I
mm-hmm,
did do a yearly checkup with the doctor because he wanted to check my heart. So I from then I really became like in tune with my body. If I feel something weird, I'm like, this don't feel right. And I have, my tolerance of pain is high. So I'm
mm-hmm,
like, this feels a little weird. Let me go and check this out. Even if it's nothing, I just want to get it checked out
mm.
because I just don't want to have, long-term damage if I can
Right.
prevent it in the beginning.
Right. So let's go back because I know you were about to talk about like how you felt about it, learning from your family and not knowing. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I was very kind of disappointed because I'm like, can someone have told me that this was a thing? Because
Right.
maybe I could have, when it happened previously, before then, I can be like, well, doc, I was told from my family that, we have like heart issues and, black men in my family have heart attacks around or heart issues around the age of 30. I'm getting to the age, I'm 20 this, I'm 20 that. Is there anything you can do, like do a scan to see, like do a CAT
Mm-hmm.
scan or something just to see if it's something there to prevent it from even happening.
Right.
And I guess they like my, black families, they wasn't thinking, they wasn't really, saying,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Aubrey is about to hit 30. We need to have this talk with him.
Right. Right. You know that like I said, it's funny. It's not funny, but it's I guess sarcastically, I'm like, it's just funny how much I hear this when someone has a health scare in the Black community. When they express it, then the elders start talking about,
Right,
oh yeah, this is what, and it's like, well, Shawty, look, I'm going through
right,
some stuff. I'm talking to my
right,
doctor, and you know when you go for your physical, my doctor always goes through, okay, let's do any family history, update your family
right,
history that you know
right,
about. And I mean, I don't know how, like, it's a good like 5-10 minutes, maybe I'm going through, okay, did you remember this? Do you have this? Do you have that? You know, what's going on? But it's just like it's trial and error on our discovery.
absolutely. Because I was
And
like, it
yeah,
was
it's
something I never knew.
right. And then that's a part of us coming into our own because as we get older, we think about our health. We think about how we're living our lives. We think about everything that's going on. And with you, you know, you're thinking about, okay, I want to be more of a creative and I want to have my own. I want to come out more and show about, you know, my pride of my sexuality. I want to make sure that I am expressing why you need to, you know, be on top of your health. And I need to be this, all of these people
Yep,
as one.
absolutely.
And it's just, it all sums it up for you of who you are, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's and it's big. Like mental health, physical health, emotional health, I feel like is really, really big. And
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned about, therapy. Therapy is like I feel like therapy kind of puts you in a mindset of understanding who you are, understanding
Mm-hmm.
how you respond to certain things, understanding what your triggers are, being able to have a conversation with people and say, hey, that bothered me, and or hey, what you said, you made it mean it this way, but I feel a type of way and I just want to get some clarity. And I feel
Right.
like that we, in the black family, they sweep stuff under the rug so much that, certain things slid through the cracks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very happy that you're living out loud in so
Thank
many
you.
ways that, you know, you can just be that beacon of light for someone who may have been has your same journey or just can pinpoint one thing that you're doing that they need in their life.
Yes, and I think that's when I realized. I told Tawana, I was like, this cover is bigger than me. I was like, it's, the little boy, the little girl who don't know their identity, who don't know who they are,
Mm-hmm.
that can live and say, I am this, I am that, I am great, I can do whatever I put my mind to. And I said, I'm doing this cover for all the people who thought they couldn't be who they wanted to be.
Mm.
I was like, it's bigger than, that. I want to show the world that you can do it
Yeah.
and be fly and be proud and be bubbly and be over the top.
Yeah. But like you said, I think everybody just had a moment in this pandemic to just step back, even with all the trauma we felt through it, to just step back and say, I'm tired of being, in whatever closet you've been in, because, in respects for myself, I feel like like I said, I'm about to turn 40. I feel like this is another coming out. It's a rebirth for me. For you, you
Absolutely.
you felt like, okay, I've showed myself to my family and my close friends. Let me show it out loud and on the cover of a magazine, which I'm closely connected to, and I could trust these people to tell my story.
Yep. And I think that like people know, like if you even like some of the shows I go, people knew. They
Mhm.
knew.
I knew
And
shit.
so I feel like, okay, like knowing and putting it in like print or, you having me on the show today,
Mhm.
I feel like it gives it another perspective. It gives like who is Aubrey truly, like
Mhm.
going behind the scenes of the glitz, the glam, the nice clothes, the twirling a jacket on the runway, and really sit down and have a conversation with me. I think is a lot different than anything that anybody have seen that I put out before.
Right, because we've always talked about your fashion and how you, like, you started the conversation about your role in fashion, but we've never gotten deep on like you coming out, what that was like, being
Right.
married, understanding sexuality, seeing that information. Like we've never had these type of conversations.
Yeah, and it's great. I think it will be something that someone can look back on and say, "This helped me. This helped
Hmm.
me understand who I am, who I need to be, who I don't have to be."
Right.
Because sometimes you don't have to be the person that someone thinks or someone that expects for you to be. If that's not your authentic self, if you can't live your authentic self, then you have to find that within yourself.
Honey,
And
just say that
then
again. Say that. If you can't do what now?
if you can't be your authentic self, you have to find that within yourself
That
and
amen.
show that to the world. And I think that's what I've done over the last, 6 months, kind of just put out who I am, who Aubrey is,
Right.
because Aubrey is the king.
I know that's right. Hey, let them know. Let them know. Okay. You are more than what people see on social media. You are deeper. You can get that clear cut raw self of who you are. But I
Yep,
think that is going to continue to push you forward as you peel back the layers of Aubrey. When we show, our true selves, we and
absolutely.
I'm learning that even in we're different ages, what I'm saying, and I'm learning that for myself too. When we peel back layers and show ourselves to people, now of course we want to keep certain things to ourselves,
Absolutely.
but when we express ourselves and when people can connect to us and why we do the work we do, that just
Hmm.
makes it even more special, right?
Yes. And I think sometimes you have to pull back the layers to let people know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let them know, like, you're not alone. I have the same issue. I have the same problem. Let's come together. Let's talk. Let's collaborate. Let's have deep conversations about the issue to see
Right.
how we could, impact the people that's coming behind us. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to walk that same road. They can walk a different path, but they don't have to walk that same path. We can encourage them that live out loud, live in color.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, I think today has been a great conversation of getting to know you more. I feel like I've learned more about you, even in all the years we've known each other. But I just feel like this was the right time for you to express everything about yourself. And I think this will really help someone, no matter if they are, in the LGBT community or if they're, cis or however they identify. I think our conversation and the points that we hit today can help so many people. And I really appreciate you, sharing your time with me and sharing your story with my audience and the world.
Thank you for having me. I think that I was like completely, I won't say completely shocked because it's Monica. I know Monica. It's Monica the Curvy Diva. So when
Yes.
you reached out to me, I was like, me? And people, I think I'm just very humble. So I'm really humble for you just bringing me on the show, really being
Hmm.
able to talk about, who I am and really be able to inspire others like you mentioned, you don't have to be in the LGBT community. I just want to inspire people to be your authentic self, whatever that may be. Show up
Yes.
as your authentic self. Be bold, be authentic, and be you every time you show up.
Yes. Now I know you're working behind the scenes on a little something, something. So I need to know. I need to know what's coming up because I already know. There are things that you are working on, and I need you to, promote, promote, promote.
Okay, so this year, we are going virtual. National Crabs Day will be going virtual this year.
Mhm.
We want to do a virtual show. We want to celebrate, the plus size industry. So we are working and cooking that up. That will be in October. I'm super, super excited for some of our honorees. I will give an exclusive
Mhm.
on the show. So we will be honoring Brian True and
Mhm.
Kissy True
All right. And
this
you
year.
guys have worked with, well, I've
Yes.
worked with them too, but we've known them and worked with them in the plus community for so long. But I mean, they do stuff outside the plus community too. They've done some amazing work.
So we are definitely honoring them. And
Mhm.
then this is another exclusive because we
Mhm.
touched on this. We talked about, Rihanna's collection, Savage, things of that sort. So
Mhm.
we are honoring Stephen G, the big
Mm.
and tall model that was presented in her collection. So we are
Wow.
honoring him as well as our Dapper Bomber
Yeah.
recipient this year. So we have a lot of awards that we're giving out. We're giving out roughly about 9 awards this year, but I can share two on the show.
Yeah, I know that. Well, thank you for that exclusive. I love that tea. You know, I love some good tea.
Yes. But
Well,
besides from that, I'm
mhm.
also with my company, the Black Consulting Group. I'm working with a group, Speak Out, planning their award show that's going to be next year. So
Mhm.
clients are just coming, rolling in, and I'm just loving it. I'm working with the Full Figure Industry Awards as their co-producer. So I'm just
Yes.
excited. Like I'm living the life I always wanted,
Yes.
honestly.
Well, I posted something on my page with a picture with me, with my podcast stuff, one of my branding photos, a few days ago. And it said that I used the quote of when you're walking in your purpose, people can see it. And
Absolutely.
with you just naming with all the stuff that you're working with what you've created with Zach, and then the businesses that you're working with and the people you're honoring, it's like that's true for you as well. When you're walking in your purpose, people can see it, and the
Yep.
universe and God will bring those things to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like show up authentic, walk in your purpose, and everything is gonna fall in line.
Yeah, it definitely will. Well, also, I want you to give people your social media handles, how they can follow you, how they can get in contact with you, and know
Yes.
about the work you do.
So that's on Instagram, the Plus Architect,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or on Facebook, it's F Aubrey Boyd. And
Mm-hmm.
then my website that will be launching at the end of the month, it's blackconsultinggroup.com. That's BLVK consultinggroup.com.
All right. Well, you guys check out Aubrey. I hope you gained something from this story. Loves, thank you. Always listening to Tea Time with Monica, and always share, share, share. Bye, loves.
Bye. Thank you.